You know that feeling when you always seem to put everyone else first.
Saying yes all the time, even when you're screaming no inside.
Exactly. If that sounds familiar, well, you're definitely not alone. And if you want to understand like the why behind it and maybe how to change it,
hmm
you're in the right place.
Because today we're doing a deep dive into the book No More Mr. Nice Guy by Gaurav Garg.
Yeah, we're not just skimming. We're really getting into the core ideas about, passivity and how to become more assertive.
Right. Our mission here is to pull out the key insights, those practical bits that can help you, the listener, understand what's going on and maybe start building that assertiveness skill.
Okay, so before we jump in, let's talk a little about the author, Gaurav Garg. Gives us some context.
Good idea. So he's got this really interesting background, an internationally experienced marketing leader. We're talking over 20 years helping big global brands. Plus, he's an author, a speaker, holds an MBA in marketing strategy.
But it's not just business, right?
Sure.
That's what's cool. His writing covers a lot. Psychology, personal growth, wellness, even spirituality.
Exactly. It suggests, a really broad perspective on personal development.
Yeah, like he wrote, Unlocking the Mind, How Behavior Reveals Personality.
And corporate warriors, applying Shineki's Arthashastra in business, which sounds fascinating.
Right. Ancient wisdom meets modern business. And also, harnessing circadian rhythms for an optimal life, health, well-being. It's all connected.
Definitely. And you can find more on his website, askwebman.com, or email him garafgarg@gmail.com.
And something personal. He includes the books dedicated to his father, Shri R.S. Garg.
Yeah, an esteemed educator,
Yeah.
vice principal, founding principal.
Mhm.
You get a sense of the values behind the work, maybe some personal inspiration there.
Absolutely. And that personal angle is key because Garg is really open about his own struggles. He talks
Mhm.
about like a decade of being passive, a people pleaser.
And the toll it took, suppressing his own feelings, his preferences, leading to a breaking point.
Exactly. So this book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, it feels like it comes from his own journey of figuring this stuff out, learning and practicing assertiveness. It's not just theory.
It's lived experience. Okay, so let's get into the problem he lays out. This lack of assertiveness. It can really eat away at things, can't it?
Totally. If you're always pushing down what you want, how can you set boundaries?
You can't really, or it's incredibly difficult and weak boundaries.
Yeah.
Well, that hits your self-esteem.
And builds resentment,
Yeah.
right? Quietly simmering.
Towards others, maybe even towards yourself. And it
Yeah.
opens the door for people to take advantage, doesn't it?
Yeah, maybe without even meaning to sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But it happens. At work, in personal life, you just wish you'd spoken up.
And Garg argues that a lot of this starts young, childhood conditioning.
Oh yeah, be nice, respect your elders, don't have too much ego.
Exactly. Assertiveness, even healthy self-interest, often gets discouraged. Subtly, maybe not so subtly.
And that carries through. We grow up and there's this fear of
Yeah.
seeming pushy, opinionated.
Yeah, fear of the consequences. Socially, professionally, if you seem too bold. So the default becomes keeping the peace.
Even if it costs you your own peace, basically.
Right, it's a learned thing. But, and this is crucial, Garg makes it clear assertiveness isn't aggression.
Okay, that's a really important distinction. It's not about being a jerk.
Not at all. He defines it as confidently standing up for yourself and your rights, but, and this is key, while respecting the rights of others.
So clear expression, needs, wants, boundaries, viewpoints, but without diminishing anyone else.
Exactly. It's that balance. Clear and firm, but respectful.
Okay, let's make that concrete. Can you break down how passive, aggressive, and assertive responses look different in real life, using Garg's examples?
Sure. Let's take a work scenario. Imagine your boss blames you unfairly in a meeting for a mistake that wasn't yours.
Okay, happens all the time.
Right. So the passive response, you just sit there, take the blame, say nothing. Maybe you're avoiding conflict. Maybe you just want to seem agreeable. Inside, you're fuming, but outwardly, silence.
He's there. And aggressive.
Aggressive might be, blowing up. That wasn't me. Why are you always blaming me? Maybe pointing fingers at others, getting defensive, shutting down the conversation.
Okay, neither sounds great long term. What's the assertive way?
Assertive is calmly, factually engaging. Maybe saying something like, actually, let's clarify what happened. My understanding is XYZ occurred, and my part was this. The error seems to have stemmed from that other area.
So direct, factual, respectful, standing your ground without attacking.
Precisely. Or another example he gives. A friend makes jokes at your expense that actually
Oh,
hurt.
the just getting jokes that aren't funny.
Exactly. Passive, laugh it off, hope they stop, suffer in silence.
Uh-huh. Aggressive.
Maybe snapping back with a mean joke yourself, escalating it, damaging the friendship.
Right. So assertive.
Assertive is taking them aside later, maybe, saying calmly, hey, when you make jokes like that about X, it actually makes me feel Y. I know you probably don't mean it that way, but I need you to stop.
Clear boundary. Explaining the impact. Giving them a chance to adjust.
Yes, and maybe mentioning a consequence if it continues. It's about finding that middle ground, clear, direct, self-respecting, but not passive or aggressive.
Those examples really help paint the picture. Okay, so if assertiveness is so much better, why is it so hard for so many of us? What are the underlying reasons Garg talks about?
He digs into several key barriers. A big one is just fear of conflict.
Yeah, nobody likes conflict, really.
Right, but some people dread it so much they'll do anything to avoid it, sacrifice their own needs, preferences, anything for superficial peace. He gives the example of Michelle, right? Hating her apartment, but terrified to bring up moving with her partner because it might cause tension.
Wow. That fear of rocking the boat can be paralyzing. What else?
Another huge one, fear of disapproval, needing that external validation.
So you don't say what you really think if you worry people won't like it.
Exactly. You avoid unpopular opinions, you don't ask for things you deserve, because what if they say no? What if they judge you? He mentions Matt, who won't ask for a deserved raise because he's scared of his boss's reaction.
That need to be liked is powerful.
It really is. Then there's the habit of just pleasing others. Almost automatic.
The reflex, yes.
Yeah. Often learned behavior. Feeling guilty, saying no. Always putting others' comfort first. Like Natalie, always going to the restaurant her friends pick, even if she hates the food, just to keep them happy.
You feel responsible for everyone else's feelings.
And tied to that is the fear of seeming selfish.
Ah, yes. Especially maybe for women. Societal pressure.
It can be, yeah. Worrying that putting your needs first means you're inconsiderate. So you suffer silently rather than risk being called selfish. Like Lauren feeling guilty about planning a 40th birthday trip just for herself, thinking it's too self-indulgent.
Like you're not allowed basic self-care sometimes.
Right, and underpinning a lot of this is often a simple lack of self-confidence.
If you don't believe you deserve it, you won't ask for it.
Pretty much. You minimize your own needs, assume others are more important, like James taking on way too much work because he thinks his colleagues' time is more valuable.
That inner critic just undermining you.
Constantly. Then there's fear of losing relationships.
Okay, how does that play in?
If you're maybe dependent or scared of being alone, you might tolerate really bad treatment just to keep the connection. Even a toxic one, like Gloria putting up with her demanding sister because she's terrified of losing that bond.
Fear of abandonment, even if the relationship hurts.
Yeah. And lastly, he mentions perfectionism.
Perfectionism, how does that stop assertiveness?
Because perfectionists feel they need to handle any conflict perfectly. They have to know the exact right thing to say, do it flawlessly.
Which is impossible.
Right. So the fear of messing up, of not handling it perfectly, means they often just don't handle it at all. They choose passivity. Like Mark, unable to set boundaries with his mother because he's anxious about doing it wrong.
Wow. So it's like a mix of these things for most people, probably.
Absolutely. Garg says it's usually a unique blend of these fears and habits holding someone back, and just recognizing them in yourself, that's the huge first step.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. We see the problem, we see the roots. Now, the important part, what does Garg suggest we actually do about it? The strategies.
Right, the actionable stuff. So for that conflict avoidance, he says, remind yourself, healthy relationships actually need some conflict, constructive conflict.
Avoiding it doesn't make it go away, it just festers.
Exactly. He suggests starting small. Practice in low-stakes situations to build confidence. And when conflict happens, shift your focus from blame to resolution. How can we solve this together?
Baby steps.
Yeah.
And reframing conflict. Okay, what about fear of disapproval?
Work on building internal validation. Your self-worth shouldn't depend entirely on what others think. Journaling can help explore those fears. And remember, you control your actions, not others' reactions.
Easier said than done, but crucial. And for the people pleasers.
He suggests really looking inward. Where does this come from? How could being more assertive actually make your relationships healthier?
Interesting point. It's not selfish, it's balanced.
Right. And he says, try experimenting. Do things just for you sometimes. See how it feels. Journal about the downsides of always pleasing others, the resentment, enabling bad behavior.
Deliberately trying independence. Okay. Fear of seeming selfish.
Acknowledge your needs are valid. Self-care isn't selfish, it's essential. Set firm boundaries around your time, your energy, and stick to them.
Got to protect your resources. Lack of self-confidence.
Actively build yourself up. List your strengths, your achievements, things you're proud of.
Remind yourself of your value.
Yes. Journal about where the lack of confidence comes from. Challenge negative self-talk. And he has a practical tip. Before asking for something, visualize the best outcome. People are often more supportive than we fear.
Visualization, yeah, that can be powerful.
I know.
Okay, fear of losing relationships.
He's pretty direct here. Nobody deserves to treat you poorly. Sometimes being assertive means letting go of unhealthy connections.
That's a tough one.
It is, but he says, focus on strengthening bonds with supportive people. Build your security from within, not from relationships that drain you.
A major shift. And finally, perfectionism.
Give yourself permission to mess up. Learning assertiveness is a process. Mistakes happen. That's how you learn.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
Exactly. Focus on the act of standing up for yourself, the internal growth, not just the external outcome, which you can't fully control anyway.
These are great overarching strategies, mindset shifts, challenging fears. But he also gets really practical, right, with daily habits.
Oh yeah, he lists 10 assertiveness habits to start building this week. Ready?
Let's hear them. Number 1.
Set small, achievable goals. Like, say no to one tiny request you'd normally agree to. Speak up about one small preference. Express one want. Ask for one minor change. Offer one compliment. Small wins build momentum.
Makes it feel less overwhelming. Okay, number 2.
Practice assertive body language. Posture stand tall, sit straight. Eye contact, comfortable, steady. Voice clear, calm, firm tone. How you carry yourself matters.
Nonverbals.
Yeah.
Huge impact. 3.
Start saying no tactfully, without over-explaining or feeling guilty. Simple phrases like, thanks, but I can't right now, or I appreciate it, but I'd prefer not to.
And the people who respect you will accept that.
Exactly. Those who don't. Well, that's information too. Number 4, stop over-apologizing.
Oh, the chronic sorry.
Only apologize when you've actually done something wrong. Otherwise, maybe say, thanks for your patience, or acknowledge an inconvenience without taking blame you don't deserve.
Breaking that reflex. Hard but important. 5.
Receive compliments gracefully. Just say thank you. Don't deflect or downplay. Accepting praise helps build that sense of worthiness.
Simple, but sometimes tricky. 6.
Speak up when bothered. Calmly, directly. Don't let resentment build. Frame it constructively. When you did X, I felt Y.
Address it early. Makes sense.
7.
Be direct. Stop hinting. State your needs clearly. Don't expect mind reading. Look for vagueness in your own language and sharpen it.
No more beating around the bush. 8.
Learn to make requests effectively. Be specific. Ask directly. Don't demand or imply. Clear asking. Got it. 9.
Insert confidence boosters in your language. State opinions clearly. Acknowledge your own expertise when appropriate.
Own your knowledge.
Yes. And he adds 2 bonus ones. Number 10, don't take things personally. And 11, don't over-explain your boundaries, just state them.
Wow, that's a really solid practical list. Things you can literally start doing tomorrow.
Exactly. And he stresses it's gradual, it takes practice and consistency.
It's a skill you build over time.
Right. And he touches on other habits later too, like don't blame, ask clarifying questions, be open to negotiation, manage your emotions, don't dwell on mistakes, use journaling to track progress.
So it's a whole toolkit, really. Comprehensive, and it applies everywhere, right? Not just, say, at home.
Definitely. He spends a good chunk of the book applying these ideas to different contexts, relationships, work, difficult situations.
Okay, give us a quick taste. Relationships.
Setting expectations early, speaking up about issues respectfully, negotiating needs, setting boundaries together, asking for support, owning your feelings, not stewing, lots there.
And at work.
Asking for what you deserve pay, recognition. Setting boundaries on workload, availability. Delegating effectively. Handling difficult conversations, saying no to unreasonable requests. Presenting ideas confidently, not undermining yourself.
Crucial skills for career growth. What about just tough situations? People being difficult.
Yeah, he covers things like handling interruptions, unfair criticism, being excluded, what to do when someone drops the ball or oversteps on a project or asks you to keep an unethical secret, specific strategies for tricky moments.
Sounds incredibly practical. And underlying all this is confidence, right?
Absolutely. He circles back to building that core self-belief. Challenging negative self-talk, focusing on strengths, positive affirmations, celebrating small wins.
Seeking out supportive people.
Right, reviewing your growth, watching out for those passive thought patterns.
And he even tailors advice, doesn't he, for different personality types?
Yes, really helpful chapters for introverts and empaths.
Okay, what's the advice for introverts?
Leveraging strengths like writing things out first, preparing beforehand, protecting energy, setting boundaries around social time, normalizing saying no without guilt, maybe addressing things indirectly sometimes, or buying time in a confrontation.
Using their natural tendencies to their advantage. And for empaths, who feel everything so deeply.
Big focus on boundaries, limiting exposure to negativity, reframing guilt about saying no, learning emotional detachment when needed, setting time limits on support, building resilience, seeking reciprocal relationships, discussing expectations clearly.
Protecting themselves from burnout while still being caring, that's vital. It really feels like a complete picture.
He covers so much: friendships, nonverbal assertiveness, posture, eye contact, gestures, vocal tone, how to reframe negative self-talk, common limiting beliefs like I'm being selfish or it won't change anyway.
Setting boundaries, effectively being upfront, consistent, having consequences, navigating family dynamics, even tricky in-laws or aging parents.
Intimate relationships, again, using I statements effectively. He gives the structure. Feeling thought, behavior, need request. Handling aggressive responses calmly. Assessing which battles are worth fighting.
Maintaining the habits long-term. Celebrating wins, tracking progress, accountability. It's about lifelong growth.
Exactly. Continuous learning, setting new goals, accepting feedback, not comparing yourself, remembering why it matters to you.
Wow, okay. It really sounds like Gaurav Garg's No More Mr. Nice Guy is more than just a title. It's a whole framework.
It really is a very thorough, insightful, and importantly practical guide for anyone wanting to shift from passivity to healthy assertiveness.
So wrapping this up, the big takeaway for you listening is assertiveness isn't fixed. You're not just born assertive or not.
Nope. It's a skill. You can learn it, you can develop it, as Garg shows, and doing so, it can genuinely change your life. Better relationships, more success at work, more self-respect.
It's about understanding those fears we talked about, those barriers.
And then actively using the strategies, building the habits Garg outlines, remembering it's a journey. Be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself.
Yeah, self-compassion is key.
Yeah.
So here's a thought to leave you with. Think about your week ahead. Is there one small situation, just one, where you usually hold back?
Where you normally go along to get along.
Right. What's one tiny step you could take to be just a little more assertive in that moment? How might advocating for yourself, even slightly, change things? How might it feel?
Definitely something to consider. And if you want to go deeper, check out the book No More Mr. Nice Guy by Gaurav Garg.
And maybe his other work too, like harnessing circadian rhythms for an optimal life seems connected to taking control of your well-being. You can find him at askwebman.com.
Well, this has been a great discussion. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.